petition to stop killer drones at Fort Carson. Abby got to sign.
Yeah, I can see the Wells Fargo. I'm standing up front. But no, that's not where I'm from. I'm standing up front of the Fix Team Center.
Yeah, they usually have the tour too.
You're on one side, you got the
Instead of remaining with the status quo and trying to make the military larger and increase our dependency on them, let's think of other solutions. How come we're not having public meetings about that?
Well, tonight got started.
Yeah, we've been working on. I think we would have to. We don't say we don't support our military. We're saying we don't need to be dependent on it, and we need to diversify where we're allocating our resources. When we have a fifth of our budget going to the military, there's a big problem, and we have kids that don't have education, that don't have opportunities. We need to relook at the whole structure of how things are operating. That's all. Trying to make the military. None of these signs say we're not supporting our military.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Would you like some information about the killer drone program?
This so-called listening session by the Army brass was the most hideous thing I've ever seen. It was like some tribunal scene from the Hunger Games, with all the 35 base towns competing with each other for who gets to live. Instead of the elected leaders and citizens sitting in judgment on the dais high above the podium, the Army brass sat up there like Caesar in the Colosseum, and the elected leaders all came up one at a time to kiss their ring and kiss their ass and kiss anything else in their shorts, to beg them to return some of our tax money to us in the form of the worst paying jobs, the lowest housing allowances, totally socialized health care, which every one of them are against for all the rest of us who pay those taxes, subsidized clothing, food and vehicles and the rest, so these Army base towns can make a living off homicide, war, hatred, and bigotry. The Army brass told the same lies about how thousands were going to be cut and the economic devastation it would mean to the bars, liquor stores, strip clubs, whores, and slums near the base. The worst representative on earth, Doug LAMEborn, had a video message begging the brass not to cut anything, like he did when he voted for the sequester. Fort Carson is only 10.2% of El Paso County's employment, but the 5 bases and the so-called defense contractors are about 52% of the economy. The Army is considering cuts from 470,000 to 450,000, 20,000 of the entire U.S. Army. So Fort Carson is likely to gain personnel from other bases, and the Air Force Academy, Peets Field, Schriever Air Force Base, Boeing, General Dynamics, Harris, CACI, SAIC, ITT, L3 Communications, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and the Space Foundation won't see any cuts. They've already brought in another combat aviation brigade with 112 helicopters, a Stryker Brigade, and now a killer drone squad of 12 Gray Eagle drones. In 2013, in Colorado Springs, the annual GDP growth per capita for the military was 7.86%, but for non-military was 0.37%, on an annual population growth of 2.3%, but an average annual per capita income growth of only 1.5%. So the military, and especially the Army, has a suppression effect on income and especially the ability to attract non-military job creation. The White House budget that was just submitted calls for a 4.5% increase in military spending, not a cut. These mayors, city council members, senators, representatives, and the governor didn't ask one question about why any of us should continue to support the military, challenge any contract cost overrun, any use or misuse of any weapons system, the rape culture of the military, any foreign policy or any war. Just total subservience to their military masters. And this in a town where they all say the economy is a reflection of the perfection of private corporatism when it's based on the redistribution of public money into the private pockets of the warmongers and their cannon fodder standing on the front lines of their endless war against the enemies they created. All this took place in a room with this ironic and heartbreaking artwork floating above that looked like the tortured ghosts of the dead that these military minions had murdered. It was sickening.